hot, streamy summer. Get it? Streamy? Get the joke?
I get it.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
I know.
okay.
Okay.
There you are. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Sorry, I'm going to be a little bit distracted for the next 5 or 10 minutes. We're in the middle of yet again another end of the day test, and so far, keep your fingers crossed. If we can get through 5 more minutes without crashing on the latest build, we will definitely have a test this weekend. Whether it be alpha or beta, don't know yet. I'll have a much better idea in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. So I'm going to keep being distracted. So, excuse me. Yeah, as you can tell, I'm distracted today. We all good to go on sound, voice, etc.? Excellent. So, I would like to start this wrap-up with, hey, we've got really good news. But as I just said, I'll know in about 5 to 10 more minutes. This version so far, we haven't had a single crash in the office, which is really good. And I'm going to talk about why that's really good, though I think everyone who's listening to these, you already know the answer. So, okay, let's start the top 10-ish list with the 2 most important things. First, crashes. We have been digging through the code like crazy. We found 2 areas that certainly had been leading to some crashing. We think we've taken care, or hope we have taken care of one of them. One of the other ones we're tracking down, and especially you long-time folks will remember something like this in the past. Issues in, I don't want to say in PhysX, but with PhysX. Now, it could be on our end, most likely it is, but that's part of the problem. The other problem, well, we'll know in a couple minutes. The good news is this version looks really good compared to last week. And even last week, by, boy, even a bunch of live game standards, our client was very stable. And certainly for an alpha, soon to be beta client, incredibly stable, but not good enough. Hopefully, this version will be. About 7 more minutes to go, and we'll have a very good idea. Now, how do I know it's going to be about 7 minutes? What we've been seeing is that within the first 10 to 15 minutes of all of our play test sessions, we were getting most of the not super powerful machines having a crash. So far, still good. So far, we're in 15 minutes on my machine and a couple of the others, 10 minutes or more on everyone else's machine. So, again, all very good, all moving forward, and we are, you don't want to say 100% certain, but we're really certain about where the issues are. And now, it's just a matter of making it right. So that's very good news. The other big news, of course, involves rehabilitation, and that continues to go exceedingly well. I'm going to talk about a little bit, well, not a little bit, I'm going to talk fairly, give you some in-depth info on it when I go over this list. But that is moving along nicely, even though we had to pull some people off it, on and off it, to help with the crashing. So, yep, we're all still good, all the machines still running. Which is excellent. So let's start going through the list. So as part of the solving the issues with stability, we've made improvements to our parallel library, which is really good. Stuff that will certainly help us in the future with Unchained and Cube and anything else that like we're doing now is rather heavily invested in multi-threading. And I won't go into all the details about multi-threading now because you guys have heard me talk about it before. It's one of the things that makes this engine go. It's the thing that allows us to keep making the engine more and more powerful as the years go by because, hey, as more cores come online in your average PC, we can take advantage of all the power. And believe me, we will. What else? Next up on rehabilitation. So one of the things we added were periodic effects, which is great, to abilities. That we had talked about last week. We wanted to get that in. Those seem to be in and working. We've improved how we add triggers to abilities from our end. Doesn't affect you guys, but it makes Ben and my life a lot easier. AoEs can now be fired off projectiles. So now the fireball, for example, could hit the ground and then trigger an AoE, as it should, right? Not just damaging whoever hits it, but an AoE in the area of its landing, or striking if it hits a wall or a person. Done some cleanup on the projectile code in terms of collisions, so that's a bit tighter than it was before, which is great. We've added aim, which is why the whole aided. We've added aim and target nodes for the archery abilities. So now it's going to be easier, and you will have the ability as a player to target body parts. And that's something that has been obviously part of our focus from the beginning, and we needed to get it in, and well, it's going in. First pass of the wound system is in, the new wound system. Like, unfortunately, the ability system, we had to do a lot of rewrites, entire rewrite on the wound system. So the first pass of that is going in, and that was all part of the ability system. So nothing new there. And then just some cleanup generally on the work on rehab. So far, it is now almost 10 more minutes since I began, and no crashes. Yay! So we've been talking for the last few weeks about the ability to island hop. Well, we've got about to get an initial test of that in. We certainly did not want to do that. We did not want to do that when we're testing, obviously, a potential push to Wyrmling. So next week, we will begin testing island hopping. So the idea is that you'll have the equivalent of a warp gate, a star gate, an island gate, Dragon's Gate. Oh, we could call it. Yeah, we could call it Dragon's Gate. I hadn't thought about that until now. That you'll go between islands with. That is not obviously the way the game is going to work, but it sure as heck is going to work that way during beta. The idea is we want to make it as easy as possible for you folks to do the island hopping, testing, instantaneous and seamless transport between different areas. So obviously you guys, it will be a lot easier now than it will be once the game launches, but please, when the cards and letters come in saying, I thought there'd be no instance travel, MJ, just for beta. We need to test the system. We need to make sure that you can go between islands, and adding the time delay via boat travel, as we've talked about, or worm travel, or other things coming out of the ocean travel. That's the easy part. The hard part is obviously transitioning from one area to the next. Part building. So we've got in another version, an update, which is great, and you'll see that. I don't think we have it in for hopefully this weekend's test, but certainly next week. Sound events have been reworked for the game, not refactored, just reworked, and yes, so far no crashes.
Yeah, 25 minutes for me.
Yep, excellent. So sound events have been reworked, so we're going to be able to do more with them. DB and Bull and the guys have been working on that, so that's a nice add. Yeah, this is, every so often, we, and it doesn't matter whether we as head of the company, or we as programmers, or we as artists, or occasionally, we as log keeper, make a mistake. We kind of made a little one.
Lore keepers never make a mistake. Wait.
Yeah, exactly. And we fixed an issue with how our builds were being, frankly, built. We found something that had been in for a few days that prevented us from actually getting all the latest files for our build. That's been fixed. That was just a mistake. Fortunately, not a big one, and corrected. Let's see. First material pass on a bunch of weapons for the game. So you've seen some of the weapons already. If you've been in the later builds, you'll see more going in. The key is now, as we move forward with weapons and armor, we want to make them look better and better. We want them to get as close to game ready as we can. Obviously not finished. There's nothing in the game right now that we would consider, or that you should consider, finished. But the idea is, as we approach beta, you'll start to see pieces that look like, geez, these actually do belong in a game from 2016, and it's something that you want to see and want to use in the game. So as we get closer to beta and we move through that, you'll be seeing more of that. Weapons, armor, everything else. Let's see. So we've continued to work on our idols. We call them showcase idols. It's something that we all as MMO gamers like to have. I don't think there's anybody who, thinks that having their character move in interesting ways while they're standing around talking, or just standing around while they're waiting for people, is unnecessary. So we've been doing some of those. It's stuff we've talked about in the past, nothing new. So for those who've been in the alpha, if you remember the forest from the last week, we've gone through and actually, so this is one of the interesting things when you Tyler has been focusing on reducing the vert count on the trees inside and objects inside the forests. By doing that, we got an improvement in frame rate. But at the same time, he also added more trees to make the forest denser. So if you thought some areas of the forest were crowded and dark before, just wait, they're even more so. It's kind of cool. So Ben's been working hard with Rob and Mark and Tim at times on benefication. So lots of new abilities going in, lots of issues being found, lots of things being fixed. The exact point of this process. What I'm hoping is once we can get our focus off this crashing, we can get these guys to do another design stream. Hopefully this week, if not the week after, depending on when we go to Dragon Con, which is what I'll be talking about in a minute as well. We just pushed the third wave of gifting testing out. So we've now got, I think I said in the email, about 1,300 of our backers have received emails so that they can now gift their tiers gift their reward tiers to friends, family, to whoever they want to. So that's in, and that's working beautifully. If you've received an email, please help us out. If you were ready to give a gift to somebody, go right ahead and do it. System is working great, and as per the emails, if anything goes wrong with it now, it's on us. So don't worry, we'll take care of it. But so far, if you go to the forums and you look at the thread, we haven't had any major problems, which is fantastic. Hey, we're doing some prep work for the German website as we continue to work on the French website. So that's moving along very nicely. And then last thing on my list is to talk about Dragon Con. So once again, we'll be going to Dragon Con this year. We'll be there. Andrew will be there on Wednesday. I'll be getting there late Thursday. And then we'll be around Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I'm on 3 panels right now. And
30 minutes.
So 30 minutes, no crashes. And on the guys who started a little bit later, it's about 20 plus minutes and also no crashes. So keep your fingers crossed, folks.
Dave has one tiny one he's looking into, but I don't know what it is.
Okay, so 1 crash. Is my machine still going?
No, yours was the one that something happened. He's looking at it.
Okay.
We don't know if it's the same thing.
Okay. Okay, so 1. It had to be mine, of course. So we're going to be there again all weekend. 3 panels. I'm speaking on our panel, of course, the Camelot Unchained panel, and 2 others. Michelle, Andrew, and Dave may be on other panels as well. So if you're there or you're around there, you know, give a shout out. Come down to see us. It'll be fun. So that's it on the big news for the update. Again, we are testing like crazy, and I'm going to speed this up because I want to get back to testing, especially if my machine caused a crash. So I figure 15 minutes tops for Q&A, guys. I really want to get back to this because I will be sending out a call to our Alpha and IT guys in a few minutes, I assume, or as soon as I'm done, if everything continues to go well, so we can get more bodies in there, and we'll see what happens. So that's it. Question time.
All right, start writing out your Q&A questions, and we're going to play the intro.
Who are you? Turn the stove off. Did I hear a dog?
Do you like my shirt?
When are this?
Is this my spleen? Now it is time to answer some questions.
All right, that was our Q&A intro from our media intern Jules when she was here over the summer. All right, lay on some questions, folks. Questions for MJ. Well, the very first one, we might as well get it out there. The Sour UHD asks, beta date?
Same thing. We'll announce beta once we can actually get our beta. Well, we'll announce beta once we're sure we're going to make that date. We're not announcing a date until then. To do otherwise will make us look foolish if we miss it. And frankly, until we can get our beta 1 guys and gals into the beta, then how can we announce a beta date? Now, the good news, obviously, once we solve the crashing bug, which we're certainly well on our way to, the engineers that have been working on that go back full-time to gameplay. The rehabilitation is going really nicely. I talked about the island hopping, which is another thing we had to get off our beta list. That, you know, will be hopefully tested this week. So slowly but surely we're getting there. And I know it sounds lame, and I'm not going to say it's going to be done when it's done, but look, you folks don't want us to rush it out. You don't. You know that. Even if you don't want to know that. Every game, it seems, that rushes out, including one I worked on, paid heavily for not being ready. When this game is ready for Beta 1, we're going to call Beta 1. We'll continue to have testing. Again, we've been on, alpha testers have been in every week now for the last, I think, 4 or 5 weeks in a row. And many times, multiple times during the week. If this indeed has solved the crashing problem, then our beta guys will be in next week guaranteed. I mean, there's no question. If this has taken care of even 90% of the crashes, we'll get our beta 1 folks in for a test next week. That's a promise, because that's the only thing that's been holding it up. Now, you won't be in the beta 1. I mean, we're not opening beta 1, but you'll be able to see the stuff I've been talking about. You'll be able to see the new forest. You'll be able to see the performance, etc., etc. So that's just, you know, I'm tempted, if this works, to do it this weekend, but let's not. You know, unless it goes just unbelievably over the next 2 hours. I don't want you guys. You guys have been overall approximately 97% of you, if my math is even close to being right, have been really patient over the last month, and I appreciate that. We appreciate that, and we're going to reward you for it. A stable game, a company that's willing to say, yeah, we're going to take a little longer to get it right. Those are good rewards, but it's only a start. More on this down the road.
Darv asks, will the beta gift codes unlock once we get an announcement on beta date.
If by unlock you mean you'll be able to access the beta test, oh yeah, absolutely. That's the whole point.
Mia Tullis asks, how do AoEs work? Does the ability damage get split or scale in number of players?
Yeah, that question has been asked so many times, and there's nothing wrong with asking it again. You probably didn't hear the answers. Look, we're certainly not saying, yes, AoE damage is infinite. We're not saying AoE damage will also be capped. We've been very clear about that. We don't want to cap it. Obviously, for all those who've played these kind of games before, AoEs can be very valuable against the Zerg. So, it's the same thing I've said before. No, there are no plans to have AoE caps on every ability out there. That doesn't make any sense. Not for this kind of game.
Speaking of classic questions, Odilvik asks, do you have a new crafting dock date?
I have not even looked at it, and I will hopefully be able to get to it in the next couple of weeks. Unfortunately, getting ready before Dragon Con, I'm now on a tight schedule. We really didn't make the decision until really the last minute that we were going to take people this year. I didn't even sign up officially. God, I don't think it was more than a month ago. So this is something that is going to take some of our time. It's worth it. Unfortunately, it's over Labor Day, so it's not like we lose a lot of time from the studio. So I don't want to promise anything that I can't deliver on the crafting dock.
Icarid asks, will pledge rewards change with beta?
I'm not sure what you mean by that. And, ask the question again, do you mean, will there be more or different rewards for the Beta 1 folks? So I'm not quite sure what you're asking.
Evil Acid wants to know if the new ability system is done, and are we just adding new abilities, or are we still working on the system itself?
The system will never be done. And that's the same thing for any, whether it's crafting, whether it's the ability system, the combat system. No system is ever done in an MMO. You guys know that. It's always expanded on. It's always added to. Are we adding new abilities? Absolutely. Are we adding new functionality? Absolutely. And we're going to be doing that from now until, eventually when the game has to, well, hopefully won't have to, but who knows, sunsets. It's just something that, you're always doing as an MMO developer, especially if you love the game and you want it to continue, to live. You're constantly adding new things. So the system won't ever be done. And I'm not trying to be in any way facetious here. And I will say absolutely that we are still adding new functionality, and we will always be adding new functionality to it.
Ashiaruman asks, is the ability to purchase more Founders Points ever going away or going away before launch?
Yes, it will go away before launch. I said that during the Kickstarter. We've been very clear from the beginning that Founders Points was not going to ever become a pay-to-win thing for our founders. I said that during the Kickstarter. I said that after the Kickstarter. I think I might have even said it before the Kickstarter. The money that we're getting from you folks is really for one thing, and that is to make the game that is released. Keeping Founders Points or doing other things like that would be essentially coming awfully close, even if none of the items are pay to win, awfully close to that pay to win that I've been very much against. There's a big difference, and I hope you all agree, with helping us, whether it's through builders pledges or founders pledges or eventually citizen pledges, to help us make a game. After that, if you're doing the same things that you were doing in order to get the game developed, then it really smacks of pay to win, or doing something that you folks who know me very well know, treating you all as walking wallets. And that's not something I've ever done, nor will ever do.
Anselms asks, will there be a possible media blow-up leading up to Beta 1?
Oh God, no. Not for Beta 1. Look, as we get closer to release, are we going to do more things? Sure, absolutely. As we get into beta, are we going to do more? Absolutely. Media blow-ups are not for a game like this at this stage. That's very much the hype train. And we haven't earned the right, and you've heard me use that expression before, we have not earned the right to do that. And I'm deadly serious about that. We can talk about the things we want to do. We can talk about BSC things. We can show you the things that we've done, and we'll continue to show you the things we've done, and even be very proud of them. But getting on board the hype train, especially at Beta 1, not for this game.
LC Gaming asks, can you make the banking process for PayPal and eChecks work faster?
I wish I could. PayPal is its own special, wonderful, frustrating little flower. We're going to be adding Stripe to the ways you can pay for this game going forward. But in terms of, getting PayPal, yeah, no. They can be frustrating. Big F, right? Big F, giant F, as they proved again this week. There's always, however it be, right? There's always a story around the office every few weeks about an interaction with PayPal. So, coding one this week. So, yeah, no, I'm sorry. I wish we could do more. That's why we have been in a number of conversations with Stripe, and actually had been working to getting Stripe integrated with our store, and we will get back to that. It's August, so hopefully in October, if not before, we're going to free up some time for Charles and Tim, potentially to continue with Stripe integration.
Treadmatic has a question about healers. Can you talk more about the abilities that help with the survivability of healers?
Yeah, I
More
will in
importantly,
about
stone
30 seconds. I just want to see if we actually cross the 30-minute mark with every PC in the office but one. No. Hang on. Hey, Tyler, we're still at one PC? Only one crash?
Only one so far.
And that was mine?
Yep.
Okay.
Dave looked at the log. Are we on?
Yeah, we're on. It's okay.
Said it was still consistent with what was this morning, but nobody else. And we're at, 40 minutes? Maybe?
40 minutes for you and I,
And normally it was 10 to 15
and 10 to
minutes.
15.
So we
Good.
we were talking about doing a push to Wormling, and
Yes.
do you want to, Tim's got a fix for that blue screen, but I don't even want to put that in. I just want to get the Wormling push settled and then do.
Well,
It's up to you. That one's
get
up to
Tim's one thing if he thinks it's safe,
Okay.
and then let's push to Wormley.
Okay.
Okay, so you heard that. So Alpha folks and IT folks, we are.
Also, I heard you talking about getting in the forest and stuff. So
Right.
just for people on there, that's a work in progress. That's
Yeah, but it's always a work in
we,
progress.
We've stuffed it full of things, so don't expect 60 frames in that thing. It's meant to be tough.
Right. Okay, so Tyler doing a little cover the artists. CYA.
I heard you say that. I
Yeah.
was like, no, it's
Yeah.
not.
CYA here means cover your artists. But that's the point. Obviously, everything we're doing now, as you can see, is kind of, as always, live and unscripted. But it is all about testing. So, stuffing the forest through with more trees obviously is going to hurt frame rate, which is what we want. I know it doesn't sound right, but that's what we want now. We want to stuff the forest. We want to, challenge the machines, because that obviously puts us in a better position of optimizing things, of making things better and better before we go down the final path, which would be to pull things out. So I think for those of you on very good machines, you'll find the performance fine in the forest. I have no problems. On the older machines, You'll want to stay away from the thickest ones, unless and certainly the game still runs, but it's going to be slower. On the other hand, the more sparsely populated ones are just fine. This is all exactly the sort of stuff we need to do during alpha and beta. We need to know how far we can push, the clients. We need to see what we can do to get performance gains, and the way you do that is obviously as we're doing it now. Okay, so I'm cutting it short. I'm sorry about the question on the Stone Healer. I'll answer that next week. I really want to get back to this because mainly I got to also get a message out to the Alpha and IT guys. So apologies for cutting things short. Alpha and IT guys, expect an email in your box within a few minutes letting you know when Wormling is open, and we're certainly going to be testing for the next 2 hours, and then I'll pretty confident that we'll have at least an alpha weekend. We'll see. We want to get your feedback. And so, folks, Alpha and IT guys, when you come in, if you can jump into the game right away, if you crash, please let us know. Please, it's really important. Because if we don't see crashes, there's a small chance we'll open it up for the beta ones. Again, very small chance. But we also want to know whether we want to waste our money having an alpha weekend if we're still having crashes. And if we're still having a bunch of crashes, we won't do it because that's just a waste since we have the data. But on the other hand, if we're not, and it's only every so often like it is now, that's wonderful. That's really good data, worth having an alpha test this weekend. So that's it. As always, we thank you for your support. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you in the game, and I'll see you, some of you, on the forums. Thanks. Bye.
Hot, streamy summer. Get it? Streamy? Get the joke?
I get it.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
I know.
okay,
I was
okay.
okay.